The temperature was minus 30 degrees Celsius. The snow had turned gray from ash and soot. A young Soviet soldier pressed his back against the rubble of what had once been a flour mill, listening to the sound of boots crunching on frozen ground just meters away. He did not know the date. He had lost track of time weeks ago. What he knew was simpler than that. The next few seconds would determine whether he lived or died. Stalingrad. The name alone still carries weight. But what was it actually like to be a soldier inside that city during the winter of 1942 and 1943? What did the men on both sides actually experience? The hunger, the cold, the fighting that took place not on open battlefields, but inside rooms, stairwells, and sewers. This is that story. By the summer of 1942, the German Wehrmacht, Germany's armed forces, had swept deep into the Soviet Union. Operation Barbarossa, the German invasion launched in June 1941, had already swallowed enormous stretches of Soviet territory. Now, Adolf Hitler had set his sights on a city on the Volga River. Stalingrad was a major industrial hub and a key transport artery. It also bore the name of the Soviet leader, Joseph Stalin. For Hitler, taking it had become as much symbolic as strategic. In August 1942, the German Sixth Army, commanded by Field Marshal Friedrich Paulus, began its assault on the city. General Vasily commanded the Soviet 62nd Army tasked with holding it. What followed was one of the longest, costliest, and most brutal urban battles in recorded history, lasting roughly 200 days. But to understand what it meant to be a soldier at Stalingrad, it helps to start not with maps or troop movements, but with a single pair of hands. Sergeant Yakov Pavlov was a Soviet soldier who, in late September 1942, led a small group of men into a 4-story apartment building in the central district of Stalingrad. The building overlooked a key open square. Pavlov's group held it. Against repeated German assaults, they continued to hold it. For nearly 60 days, a handful of men defended that building with rifles, a light machine gun, and anti-tank weapons. The building became known as Pavlov's house. Historian Antony Beevor, in his landmark book Stalingrad, noted that more German soldiers died trying to take that single building than died in the entire French campaign of 1940. The anecdote is disputed in its exact numbers, but the spirit of it captures something true. At Stalingrad, every building had a name. Every building had a price. The fighting was called Rattenkrieg, Rat War, a term German soldiers used themselves. It meant exactly what it sounds like. Men moved through holes knocked in apartment walls rather than through streets, which were too exposed to snipers and artillery. They fought room to room, floor to floor, sometimes staircase by staircase. The side that held the upper floors of a building could fire down onto the side that held the lower floors. Vasily Zaitsev was a Soviet sniper who became one of the most famous soldiers of the battle. He is credited with over 200 confirmed kills during the campaign. His memoir and the accounts of those around him describe a daily reality of patience, cold, and extreme psychological pressure. Snipers on both sides worked in pairs, spending hours motionless in the rubble, waiting. A sniper might advance 30 meters over the course of a full day. The killing was intimate in a way that artillery and aerial bombardment were not. Zaitsev trained other Soviet snipers. His method spread through the 62nd Army. German command reportedly sent one of their master snipers, Major Erwin König, specifically to hunt and eliminate him. Whether König ever existed as described is disputed by historians, but the duel between them became embedded in the legend of Stalingrad. What did the soldiers eat? By late autumn, rations had collapsed on both sides. Soviet soldiers received their supplies across the Volga River, which was only partially frozen and under constant German bombardment. Crossing it was survival work. Horses were slaughtered. Bread was rationed in grams, not portions. German soldiers, encircled in the final months of the battle, received airlifted supplies that were wildly insufficient. Men ate horses, dogs, and eventually whatever they could find. Cold weather preserved food for longer than normal, which is one of the grimmer observations made by survivors. The historian David Glantz, in his extensive research on the Eastern Front, documented the systematic collapse of German supply lines following Operation Uranus. The Soviet counteroffensive that encircled the 6th Army in November 1942 let us stop on that moment. November 19th, 1942. Soviet forces launched Operation Uranus, a massive pincer movement designed not to fight through the Germans inside Stalingrad, but to cut around them. Soviet armies attacked north and south of the city simultaneously, driving deep there.